at least for the goal lane from the side of Team Flash. Now Team Flash, they have branded out the Franco as well as the Grok. We have seen in the previous series today, Grok is a very scary tank as well. The ability to fight in close quarters is going to be quite detrimental to their lineup. So they have taken out the Grok. Now we're going to be left with the final 2 picks from the side of Team Flash. With that, Fossa now gets his hand on the Ruby. So pretty mobile on the side of Stellark, and I think this is a good strategy for them because SmellyCat will have some options and a lot of cover.
At this point in time for Team Flash, they do have the opportunity to pick up the Claude for themselves, as they would probably be a team that wants to win in the early stages when it comes down to objectives and slowly get themselves the momentum and tempo in order to really get themselves on the curve and play around for the late stages. In this case, they have decided to pick up a Mathilda for themselves to solidify the Claude's laning phase, especially since they are going to see the Claude going up against the Beatrix, which could be a problem.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Team Flash, I think their lineup is smart. The way that they're dealing with the lineup from Stellark is that they're not going to allow them to just dive into a full-on 5v5 face-on-face fight, right? So the ability for Alpha V9 to kind of pick off people from the side or to jump in, and A1, A2 providing the cover with RWM is going to be a very hefty situation for Team Stellark to try and engage. Right, OhDeerBambi going back on his signature Karina. We have seen him play this hero a couple of times already. It's a pretty low win rate for Karina in the regular season, 17% only. So I think the odds are stacked against him, at least from a statistics standpoint. Right, it's going to be much easier for Reminiscent to play off using that Balmond double retrieve.
Yeah, I think looking at both of these drafts now, it seems like they're going head-to-head, right? Very all-in type of compositions from the side of Flash. You have the Balmond to secure the objectives. You also have Yves with the real-world manipulation, but the potential to pick off someone with the Cho coming from the flanks, with the Mathilda as well, circling Eagle, and then Claude bursts in. Similarly for Stellark, they have a Ruby for huge team compositions and Kadita for that huge burst damage, Karina for the cleanup. So I feel like it's a little bit mirrored in that sense, very all-in, divey, huge teamfight compositions. What do you think, Abstract?
Well, there could be a lot of changes on how Flash and Stellark would want to play for their game here based on the composition that they have. But one thing's for sure is that these two teams really is pretty much neck and neck. A lot of these plays may actually be attributed to Sync, playing as a Kadita as a mage. Exactly who is Sync going to be targeting on, and how is his targeting going to create space for his fellow team? Especially since Stellark, they don't necessarily have a roamer that can open up space and really babysit this Beatrix.
Yeah, and they haven't taken that approach so far. It's Kayzeepi actually who has rotated down to the bottom lane to make sure that Pokemon has a slightly better time, but right now has to go back upwards to assist with this Little Wanderer, so they're trying to take control of this mid lane as much as possible.
When it comes down to Stellark's composition, they will be very mobile in the early stages of the game. They are expected to see, it is expected to see that the Esmeralda will constantly be away from the lane, and whenever possible to take up the middle lanes as well, whenever Stellark members are in another lanes to fight for the team.
Yeah, looking at both the junglers now, they are at level 4 and the next turtle is spawning in 30 seconds. So Reminiscent probably has a slightly upper hand. We know obviously that Balmond has that additional retribution together with the lethal counter to be able to help secure the objectives. So I think in terms of the team fight at the turtle, Flash definitely has a huge advantage in terms of that ultimate from the Yves, the real world manipulation. We'll have to see how Stellark decides to take that, whether they go all in together with the I'm Offender and Sync.
Flash has to be, Stellark actually has to be relatively careful though, especially since Flash, they do have the early game covered for themselves. They can actually win in the early stages just because of objective, but in the meantime, RWM popped right up, allowing Chu to just run right into the face of A1, A2. But unfortunately, we are talking about a 2 minutes Esmeralda. The best he can do is just pop off a couple of shields off of A1, A2, but no other damage will be observed. A really good flicker as well. Jikundo combo coming in from Alpha V9, jumps himself right into the face of Fossa, brings him down immediately. That is going to be a first blood, as well as a 1-for-1 trade for these two teams. The only winning side is Flash with a turtle.
I guess there's definitely a win, right? You trade Roamer for Roamer, but Flash was able to force Stellark out of their position in terms of control of the turtle and getting, well, trading a kill for that. Alpha V9, you can see again, doing Alpha V9 things, zoning out Chu and pushing him, pressuring him into the turret as well. So this is really going to help Flash in terms of the rotations and team fights. You can see that Kayzeepi will be able to help out Pokemon a little bit more because now that the EXP lane is secured in that sense, he can help Pokemon to scale, which is going to be a win condition for them, especially in the later part of the game.
Now, I do really like what Stellark are trying to go for here, especially when it comes down to the Kadita. They're not looking at the Kadita to go for the roam position, but they needed some damage onto the Kadita solely because of the Eve.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with that invulnerability and the ability to heal back the HP that you have lost, you can certainly dive into the back line and burst down the Eve the moment the real-world manipulation is popped. You know exactly where the location would be, but right now, bottom side.
Sync trying to get himself away, the lethal counter connects down to the Sync, but as you spoke about the heal, it happened. Sync will be A-OK, but unfortunately, OhDeerBambi wanted to jump himself over to the back line to deal with A1, A2, but due to the fact that, well, Sync doesn't really quite have the damage, and when it comes down to rough waves, it's not quite enough to burst A1, A2 down just yet, because Stellark's composition would really come on really handy in the mid stages of the game once their items builds up.
That being said, though, you still have Reminiscent there for the damage. So even if you don't get the rough waves off, oh, Chu!
And I don't think that Stellark will be able to do much here other than getting a kill down on the jungler. It is actually a pretty valuable trade, not even a trade, a valuable pickup because Reminiscent now, is not going to be around anymore. The turtle understandably will be going over to the hands of Stellark, which will break down the tempo that Flash wants to go for themselves. Ultimately, they just want to win in the early game and slowly get themselves on curve or ahead of curve.
Yeah, I think very unfortunate that Reminiscent went down in that fight there. You can see across the emblems, I think pretty much the same, kind of standard emblems across Pokemon picking up that Everest as well to help him scale as quickly as possible.
Well, other than that, I believe that we are looking at the investments when it comes down to Kadita, right? Movement speed as well as penetration is the main thing that Kadita want to go for because the main idea is to burst one person down, run off, and then deal we really work with more utility, such as Breath of the Ocean whenever he really needs to, but you generally want to combine both of them together. Rough Wave combined with Breath of the Ocean and Ocean Oddity really helps you to get in onto A1, A2. Although, you don't really need Breath of the Ocean whenever you need to deal with an A1, A2, because A1, A2 with RWM is just going to be standing there all alone. But speaking of all alone, he is going to be all alone. In fact, he did manage to zone out Fossa, putting Fossa right into the face of Reminiscent, and with a single press of a button, the lethal counter takes off Fossa's head.
Nice rotation there by Flash to help save Pokemon in that team fight. Getting Fossa, I think, though, was still a consolation prize because off of that, Stellark actually managed to take the Tier 1 bottom turret. So it's more map control for them. It is more farm for them as well. So Stellark so far has been very on point in terms of how they took a kill onto Kayzeepi and immediately went to the bottom to take down Pokemon.
Team Flash may want to hold an aggression against Stellark, especially since I would believe that Claude would want to rotate himself up to the top lane soon. But it doesn't seem like they are going to do that at all. They're leaving it to Kayzeepi to open up the map, making sure that Claude is going to be A-OK despite the fact that the turtle is spawning at the bottom side. Claude is going to be slightly vulnerable, and I don't think that Claude will be able to do much in this fight, but it's just going to be picking his nose a little bit as we watch from the sidelines, pumping off a bit of these heat onto the turtle. Who's going to be the one that exactly takes this turtle? Well, we can very well say that Reminiscent might be the one. As Stellark, they move right in with Chu into the face of Reminiscent, but it doesn't seem like things are going to be working out. The Breath of the Ocean that will be connecting, and the Sync, he wanted to go into A1, A2. He did not manage to pull off the Rough Wave onto A1, A2, leaving him going to be A-OK for now. The entirety of Stellark going to be left with SmellyCat, Chu, as well as Fossa. As Sync, he did not manage to execute what he was needed to do. While OhDeerBambi, not much value at all because the kills did not come in at all.
Yeah, great positioning there by Flash. They set up that turtle fight so well. They had both the top and bottom lanes pushing onto the turret, so they were able to take the higher ground on top of Stellark to get an edge in that turtle fight. And because of that, Stellark was forced to walk into Flash and try to take advantage of the situation. But like you said, Sync, he tried to walk as close as possible, but it was not in time. Just the slows and the damage coming from A1, A2 was able to burst him down. And actually, the fight was split up as well. Pokemon went deep into the backlines with the Blazing Duet.
I mean, understandably, why it's so difficult for Sync and the rest of the team to really move on is because of the Ice Queen's wand that is already on the head of Yeef. And because of Yeef's Ice Queen wand, he's just gonna make things a little bit difficult for the members of Stellark to run away. But there is a caveat, and that is the fact that Reminiscent Tower dived right underneath of Stellark. That allows the Breath of the Ocean to connect on the Reminiscent and bring him down.
Looking at this situation so far, I mean, they are still pretty, neck to neck. Reminiscent down, unfortunately. Let's take a look at how that team fight went down. So Reminiscent going in front, trying to take SmellyCat, but Fossa on the back line, caught up by the real world manipulation. It was a great I'm offended pull to secure that kill.
Oh, it was I'm offended pull. That makes a lot of sense. Not exactly him jumping in. For the start of the fight, I looked at him, that's a dash skill, and was like, wait a minute. How did he get in then? Of course, it's Fossa doing Fossa things. And Ruby doing Ruby things. Of course, we gotta have to expect big things coming from Fossa. In the event that the Arm Offender actually does manage to connect, that will allow Chu and SmellyCat to deal in with the front lines, while Singh heads over to the back line to deal with A1, A2. At least that will be one of the main conditions of them winning, so that they can run it down to the rest of the members from Team Flash, because the zoning potential that will allow Pokemon to build up his attack speed stacks and prepare himself for the Blazing Duet is a little bit too big of a problem, and Stellark needs to address that.
But I think the good thing is that they have the damage.
It doesn't seem like Sync will be able to do quite much though. He wanted to get as close as possible, but Flash, they reacted to it accordingly. They managed to bring Sync down, and A1, A2 is gonna be A-okay for now. Chu cannot stun him. Fossa will be too far away to even get close to A1, A2 unless he force a flicker into a comeback Wolf Kick, which I don't think is gonna be happening at all. Team Flash will very easily take this Lord down for themselves at 10-minute mark, and that is going to be a lot that will be marching in the bottom side.
Yeah, I think it's extremely difficult for Stellark because not only do you have the zoning potential, obviously, from Team Flash, the threat of Alpha V9 getting a flank, the real manipulation, Pokemon's Blazing Duet, they are also under-leveled slightly compared to Flash. So they are really, it's an uphill battle if they were to walk into that fight, but now they're trying to pick off.
The Death Ball comes in as Stellark, they are finding themselves in a really bad spot. Fossa finds himself taken down for now. The Lord is going to be pushing in, and Stellark have one person missing, one head missing. But OhDeerBambi, where exactly is he? He's just going to be working his way around and wanting to go in and bring Reminiscent's HP down as much as possible. Do note that this is a tank Karina with the Demon Slayer emblem, so it's not necessarily all about damage for Stellark.
Just this fight off alone, Flash has managed to take down the tier 1 turret and the tier 2 turret on the bottom as well. So they have created space for themselves, both mid and bottom, just with this one Lord. So Stellark, they are left on very little defenses here, just down to the base turrets because Flash successfully synced up all 3 lanes.
With the barriers of entry thinned down, the Team Flash have got opportunity. They have motive to jump into Stellark's base anytime that they want. Like Kayzeepi, he has to hold it for a bit. Trigger discipline for the rest of Team Flash. They can't just willy-nilly jump right in and hope that a circling eagle ought to do the job. They have to hold it back a little bit, take control of the enemy's lines, and of course, starve out Stellark as much as possible in order for Pokemon to keep up with the curve and get himself as farmed up as possible.
The thing though is Flash does have huge siege potential, so even if they have to be careful trying to go into Stellark's base, the only thing that Stellark has to count on is the I'm offended by Fossa. You hope that you can get a pull on multiple people, followed up by maybe Singh's rough waves, and Chu can potentially try to zone out the backline. But it is so difficult to do that right now against Flash because of A1, A2 always getting the right timing when they try to engage, and Pokemon also pops the ultimate at the same time.
Here's the thing, when it comes down to Team Flash versus Team Stellark, you need to have heroes that have high ground capabilities. A1, A2 understandably is going to be the high ground of Team Flash, and for Stellark, it is going to be Beatrix that is the high ground. So having a Beatrix onto Sniper is going to be one of the best ways for Stellark to actually work its way onto Team Flash. But most of the time, we've been seeing SmellyCat actually working his way onto the shotgun. So something is going to be a problem here, is the fact that SmellyCat finds himself in bad position time and time again with no window of opportunity to even use his sniper. But now he switched himself round to Nibru. Nibru's passion wasn't able to do quite much. Pokemon goes straight in with a blazing duet, and of course even the circling eagle connects down onto SmellyCat. Now we know why he's on shotgun. In the meantime, Chu finds himself in the faces of Team Flash with 2% taken down. Chu immediately run back, and he doesn't want to have any more business with Team Flash.
Beautiful target prioritization coming from Team Flash. They were trying to peel off for A1, A2, but the moment SmellyCat showed himself, they turned their tails and went on to them instead. Now Stellark just battling it out a little bit in the jungle. I think really just Team Flash zoning them out completely to take this Lord.
Now, at this point in time, and of course, looking at the draft, we already know that Reminiscence's role is not that early game ballman, I gotta have to go hyper-aggressive role. Is I need to take every darn objective in the game in order to keep up on the curve. And Team Flash, they are doing it phenomenally well. They are 9,000 gold, almost 9,006 out 8. I can't math, but we'll call it 8,000 for now. 8,000 gold above of Stellark, and they are gonna be A-okay even if they jump into the eyes of Stellark. But they still have to get some good discipline here. In 1A2, the RWM effectively forces out the members from Stellark and also bought a lot more time for the Lord to crash right in onto the inhibitor turret on the bottom lane.
Yeah, then right now it is just Flash slowly breaking through the defenses. They are trying to use the bottom lane to siege into the base of Stellark, though, turning their sights to the mid lane now. Will they be able to get this base turret as well? Looks like they'll play the disciplined approach, go to the top where the creeps are.
SmellyCat finally has got a sniper. They do have the high ground of which we speak. So Team Flash, do they have the offensive capabilities to just jump right in on the Stellark? Yes, they do. That is the scary thing about Team Flash's team comp, is that A1, A2 have got a high ground. He can just create his grid. Kayzeepi and Pokemon, they can jump in anytime that they want. Reminiscent can hitch a ride off of the Mathilda, and Alpha V9, he's a mobility hero. So Team Flash, they have got a lot of users in their arsenal.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's what they've been using to get themselves in and out of the team fights as well. Kayzeepi can use the flicker aggressively, but he can also use the guiding wind to help his teammates escape from any kind of sticky situations. Alpha V9!
One person down, but not the whole team out just yet. But one thing that I'm surprised is that Kayzeepi, he's just gonna go straight in on the Pokemon. The Blazing Duet will be focusing down on A1, A2. Exactly what they want. They need A1, A2 down. Now that the high ground is dead, the SmellyCat, oh crap, SmellyCat is dead as well.
SmellyCat was down bottom in the midst of everyone of Team Flash, so I'm not sure why, but it seems slightly out of position at that point and he was just bursted down. This is a good win for Flash, but it doesn't look like they're going to take full advantage because they do have 2 members down as well.
Unfortunately for Stellark, they did, yes, bring A1, A2 down, but the fact that SmellyCat is not around to take advantage of the fact that they are the one with the high ground now, they can't play it around. They can't push past the river. That's why Team Flash's Bowman is still hanging around the river with his pants down, not caring about anything.
One of the keys to victory was to secure SmellyCat's hero, right? And the thing is, he did. He got this Beatrix. This is his signature pick. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to perform as well as a Claude. Pokemon farm really fast against him as well. The kick by Alpha V9!
The Way of the Dragon just going to be connecting on to OhDeerBambi. As OhDeerBambi now, his brandish is played. He really wants to get himself out of the way. Only Suppress will get him right out of the way. But OhDeerBambi, he can't get himself out. But in the end, he did manage to get himself right out. That's what, for SmellyCat, he's going to have the Nibru's passion. He eventually wants to run away from Pokemon. He does have win on nature. He managed to outguide the Pokemon, but doesn't seem like there are going to be any creeps in favor for Team Flash at this point in time. Sing went straight in with the rough waves, but none of that is going to kill anyone yet.
Still, it's good that they forced Stellark all the way back, and it looks like they're trying to siege down this mid-base turret, but the Bennett was enough to clear the minion wave. SmellyCat now, he can't afford to take the Renner because he's been forced into Nibiru as well as the Bennett to protect the base.
Most of the time, you need to have that high ground. Alpha V9, not again! You are a menace! If I could, a Phantom Menace? Team Stellark, they don't have Fossa, they don't have Chu to work for themselves anymore. The frontliners are essentially dead. Until now, Fossa is finally back in, but by the time that he actually makes his way to Lord, it could have been a little bit too late.
Yeah, and I think right now it just doesn't seem to be working out, right? The game plan that they wanted to is falling apart.
And now Rough Waves in order to get himself out of the way. Team Flash eventually with Alpha V9, another one of the Jukundo and Way of the Dragon. Fossa down again.
My goodness, this looks like the game-ending play. They have the Lord, but they might not even need the Lord at this point. Flash going in.
And this is where Stellark finds himself backed up against the wall while the entirety of Flash, they are on a mission like a man possessed. The Lord pushes up to the top lane with no creeps, no minions, no turret that will stand along its way. It's going to be pillaging everything with the middle lane's inhibitor turret going to be taken down as well as Bennett's Rage is going to be crashing right down, but unfortunately he's not going to be doing much onto Team Flash. Kayzeepi runs right in onto SmellyCat but pushes him away, and that is exactly what they want to do. The whole of the Lord is just going to be moving right in with a lot of HP that will be working for them. The entirety of Stellark, they move right in, but SmellyCat only have Wind of Nature to pop himself out, but he still went down, but he has a reminiscent of OhDeerBambi. He's almost dead, but he still have the suppress to work himself in. Reminiscent, he's just gonna be spinning his way like a washing machine, a helicopter, whatever that you want in, they still got the game. 4 members left from the side of Team Flash. They went straight in onto Stellark and they go for the game.
My goodness, Flash, that game-ending fight was a little bit long. I thought it would end faster. It was a great defense put up by Stellark. Unfortunately, Team Flash, wow, really making a show here.
I need some time to breathe. Well, Team Flash